Welcome back to Jacksonville, Florida. It's the Indianapolis Colts at 2-1, taking on the winless Jacksonville Jaguars at 0-3. Crowd is still filing in on what is a perfect day, almost 80 degrees. In fact, it will be in the low 80s, they say, throughout the afternoon. The wind over 10 miles an hour, partly cloudy sky. A good day for football here in northern Florida. Well, there's Chuck Pagano, second-year head coach, 4 years at Baltimore before finally getting his head coaching shot. The leave of absence at this time a year ago, battling with leukemia. More on that a little bit later on. And Jaguar first-year head coach Gus Bradley came after running the defense for the Seattle Seahawks. And today's game is being broadcast in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. So we've had the flip of the coin. Jacksonville won. They have deferred, so Indianapolis will receive. Colts coming off their best game of this young season, beating San Francisco last week 27-7 after their 11-5 wild card playoff season from a year ago. And the Jaguars losing up in Seattle 45-17, coming in 0-3 as you take a look at Josh Scobie, who will kick things off for Jacksonville, longtime kicker, 10 years in the league with a big-time leg. And deep back for the Colts will be kick returner David Reed. He has been inactive all season and back there today to return it for the Colts. Obviously, Solomon, as we talked about in the open, good start is imperative for Jacksonville.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. They've only scored 5 points in the first quarter all season long.
And here we go with Reed. 5 yards deep. He'll bring it out. Fourth-year player out of Utah. And tracked down, it looked like initially by Josh Evans, a 26-yard return. This takes us to the terrific second-year quarterback Andrew Luck. Taken first overall last year, set rookie passing records, and took the team, as we just said, to the playoffs.
And it's surprising, I think, for some that they have totally transformed the offense. New offense coordinator Pep Hamilton. It's a run-first offense with the Indianapolis Colts, despite the abilities of their talented quarterback, Andrew Luck.
He's in a pretty big shadow with Peyton Manning, but he has embraced it, and he has thrived. Satelli, the center, is still out, and so McGlynn will be snapping to Luck. Richardson, number 34, Havili, number 39, and away we go from the 21. Quick hitter outside. That's grabbed by T.Y. Hilton, his 12th catch of the season. It is a gain of 9, and he's up to the 30-yard line of play. We told you about the center, McGlynn. Got those 2 long, lanky tackles, and Costanzo along with Sherlis, who was a starter for the last 4 years up in Detroit. Reggie Wayne is the headliner here. You see Richardson, who gets the start, and Fleener, the tight end, continues to take the place of the injured Dwayne Allen at the tight end. Second down and 1.
Second out! Kill!
And Trent Richardson in his second game with the Colts and brought down by Puzlesny, the linebacker, who's the leading tackler for Jacksonville, on a gain of 6. It's a first down up to the 36-yard line. Here's the defensive line. Markshire plays a lot of snaps. They like his play so far. Babin has got 2 sacks, and he has a motor on that edge. Linebackers, Puzlesny leads the NFL in tackles coming in to today. Allen, ball is back at the corner. Cyprian is a good-looking rookie. It is 1st and 10 for the Colts at their 36. Up the middle they come. Great catch by Wayne, and popped on the play. They call it incomplete. A hard hit in the secondary, and an incomplete play as Puzlesny and the secondary were all over it for the Jaguars.
Kevin, today the defense wants to come in the face of the quarterback, Andrew Luck. Provide pressure there. He throws an accurate pass, and Wayne actually should have caught it. Number 24, Will Blackman. Other defenders are there as well to pry that ball loose from Reggie Wayne.
Blackman had a head injury last week in Seattle, but you can see starting today, second down and 10. Nice block. Almost picked, and it was by Blackman. He's played for Green Bay, now a flag has been thrown on the play as well. And let's see if it holds up as Blackman makes the pick. He comes from Seattle, where he's played the last couple of years.
At the snap, offside, defense, number 58. He was lined up in the neutral zone at the time of the snap. 5-yard penalty, second down.
And thus wiping away the interception.
Yeah, that hurts him because here is Babin at the bottom of your screen coming right there. He said number 58. Yeah, lined up right there in the neutral zone. And this ball is intercepted. It's a misread between Andrew Luck and Darius Hayward-Bay. You see the ball thrown behind Bay, caught right there by Blackman. Interception all for naught because of the infraction on Babin.
That's the fullback on top of your screen with Ely's. Second down and 5. Trent Richardson, Shirless trying to throw a block. He got by Hayes. He was wrapped up by Roy Miller and then brought down. The ex-Buccaneer was the one to slow him up on a gain of 2 for Trent Richardson.
Well, we told you they want to be able to dominate with the running game. Usually it's the power runs, but last week Seattle did a really good job running outside against this Jaguars defense, and so you could see them trying to get outside early going. You could see Chuck Pagano making a note. We tried to get outside, couldn't get there. I think they're going to go back to their inside power run play.
On 3rd and 3, Jacksonville has gone into the nickel. It's deflected. It is a loose ball, and it is incomplete. May have been off McGlynn up the middle. He was battling with Marks. Great pressure up the middle by Mincy. They got a punt on their first possession.
Babin off the edge, Mincy in the face of the quarterback, and it forces Luck to step up. That ball ricocheted off the head, I think, of one of his own offensive linemen. And normally those are intercepted. No one could get to the ball.
To punt, Pat McAfee did a good job in Candlestick last week, pinning San Francisco with poor field position. Denard Robinson, the former University of Michigan quarterback, is back and ready to go from the 10. As he takes it out to the 20, and that is a return at 10. As it was Ace Sanders who gets the ball and brings it up, who will start today at wide receiver. And our first look at Jacksonville when we come back to Florida. Third-year player Blaine Gabbert has battled a multitude of injuries, including this season alone. Sprained ankle, broken thumb, lacerated right hand. Maurice Jones-Drew on 1st and 10. And he's brought down by Jarrell Freeman in the middle, the linebacker on a gain of 4, and he's up to the 24-yard line. Problems on the line, especially with the left guard, but the interior has struggled. Luke Jokel was a second overall pick, and Monroe, a former first-rounder at the left tackle. That's the line for the Jaguars. Cecil Shorts is the headliner along with Maurice Jones-Drew. They welcome back the tight end, Mercedes Lewis, first time he's played this year. Second down and 6. And Jones-Drew, Cavo leading the way through, and not a whole lot there. You can see the pile, Buffet there, a gain of a yard to the 25-yard line. Taking us to the defense, all contributing heavily last week in San Francisco in the 34 defense. Linebackers have been key for this team. We've already talked about Freeman. He leads them in tackles. Mathis has 4 sacks, near the top in the NFL. And in the secondary, they got Davis. Howell starts again, and Antoine Buffet is at that familiar safety position. 84th consecutive start for Buffet today. 3rd and 5. Forsett in the backfield. Right on the screws. What a great catch. What a terrific throw. The tackle made by Howell on Shorts. He picks up 11 on 3rd and 5. It's a first down to the 36.
Well, this is what Gus Bradley wanted to see from his quarterback. Watch the decisiveness. Now, he's looking the entire time as Blaine Gabbert going for Cecil Shorts. 2 defenders are there, but showing the accuracy and the confidence in that arm that maybe we haven't seen before from Blaine Gabbert.
He might be their best offensive weapon, talking about Shorts.
There's no doubt about it. He can hit the home run.
And with a 1st and 10, blocked by Monroe. Going deep for Shorts. And intercepted maybe by Davis. They say it was. Vontae Davis with his first pick of the year, going for Shorts, and a turnover again by Jacksonville.
Well, this one is on Cecil Shorts. Look, he comes back to the ball properly, but it deflects off of him, and look, Davis wins the battle and fight for the ball that's in the air. Put on the money by the quarterback, Blaine Gabbert.
Big interception by Vontae Davis, his 13th career. He was a guy that Ryan Grigson, the GM for the Colts, traded for, former #1 pick by Miami, which gives Andrew Luck and his offense 1st and 10 at the 32.
We're good. Let's go.
With Richardson in the backfield. T.Y. Hilton's second catch today with the beat on him. Russell Allen. And that is a gain of 3, kicking it outside to the 35.
Kevin, this is just a great play by Vontae Davis. It wasn't a bad ball thrown by Gabbert. Look, concentration. He catches the bobbled pass, and they were to get both feet in bounds to get the turnover for his football team.
One thing that's been nice for the Colts, they've only had 1 turnover all season.
Yeah, this offense has been good defensively. They played very well together at first possession. They normally score on their first offensive possession of the game.
So they're now +5 are the Colts in the giveaway territory this season. 2nd down and 7. They're taking the ball away. They're giving opportunities to Luck. And here he is on 2nd and 7. And that is intercepted. Wow! This time it will count. Blackman picks it off. The 7th-year player by Boston College. He was signed in late August after getting cut by Seattle. He picks off Luck, who throws his 2nd interception.
This is the 2nd time we've seen a misread between Luck and his intended wide receiver. This one, the other one was to Darius Hayward-Bay to the outside. And watch, that's T.Y. Hilton. He didn't curl inside, nor did he work his way back to the ball. Quarterback, wide receiver, clearly not on the same page.
So Luck throws his 2nd interception of the season. And great beginning field position here for the Jaguars. 1st and 10 from the Colt 41. Harbor with the block. Ranieri with the block. And there goes Maurice Jones-Drew. Cutting the corner, finding room, takes it to the 35-yard line in a burst of 6 for a guy who led the league in rushing a couple years ago.
If they want to get this offense going, look, they've got to get outside. Obviously, that's what's going to happen. See, they seal the edge, getting around Walden on the play, but they've got to get Maurice Jones-Drew going in the offense. He's going to see 8 defenders in the box, which means Gabbert's got to make some accurate throws.
On 2nd down and 4, Maurice Jones-Drew has had great success against this Colts team. You see the stockpile there. This run game has only produced so far to start the season for Jacksonville. You mentioned this before, 2.4 carry.
You know, we talk about 8 defenders being in the box. That means you have 7 offensive players to block 8. So that 8th defender, he's an unblocked guy. He's usually coming in. He's the free guy making the tackle on Maurice Jones-Drew. But that means you only have single coverage to the outside. The wide receivers and quarterback for Jacksonville, I think, has to make some plays in the passing game in order for the run game to improve.
Extra defensive back is Butler. They got the nickel, 3rd and 4. The fake to 4 set. Gabbert. And incomplete. They were looking for the wide receiver, newly elevated Jeremy Ebert off the practice squad yesterday. Coverage was there, incomplete, and they'll try for 3.
Watch Vontae Davis, the 23. Watch him close and take the perfect angle, and then he bats this ball down. Now, it's a good throw by Gabbert, but when you have tight coverage on the back end of your defense, you can win and make plays on the football, as you saw Vernon Davis do right there. I should say Vontae Davis, Vernon being his older brother.
Josh Scobie, who is 2-2 this season, will try a 53-yarder. Right down the middle. And they cash in on the interception, and they've got a lead. Their 8th point in the first half this season. They lead 3-0 after the interception by Blackman. A 53-yard field goal by Scobie.
Let's take a look at some of the top running backs over the last 4 years. Not taken in the first round. Ray Rice was a 2nd-round pick, averaging 4.5 yards a carry, over 5,000 yards rushing. And MJD, a 2nd-round pick, averaging 4.6 yards a carry over the last 4 years. And the undrafted Arian Foster, he's averaging 4.4 yards a carry, over 4,500 rushing yards the last 4 years. And Frank Gore was a 3rd-round pick for the Niners and averaging 4.6 per carry. And Anytime you're a top running back in the National Football League, you got to average over 4.3, and that's where Trent Richardson is trying to get. A third overall pick in last year's draft, only averaging 3.5 yards per carry.
Former Baltimore Raven David Reed will return this one again. Got him in a trade for Carter, the running back, and a big hit right off the bat put on by Leroy Reynolds. It's a 19-yard return out to the 20-yard line.
There's Trent Richardson. We talked about the 3.5 yards a carry. That's why he says he's got to get back to being the kind of runner he was when he was at Alabama, Kevin. Being more decisive, 1 foot in the ground, 1 cut, and then get going downhill.
Told us sometimes, you're stuck in some system, you forget what you are.
Yeah, and he talked about, he said, hey, I had a lot of traffic at my feet, and I've gotten away from being the running back that I used to be.
Well, there's been a first-round pick on him. It's first down and 10, and of course with the injured and out Ahmad Bradshaw, everybody looking at number 34, including that Jacksonville defense. Luck, and that's caught by Darius Hayward-Bay. The tackle made by Blackman. It's a gain of 13. He's up to the 34. We go to New York and James.
Hey Kevin, Minnesota, loving London. Yes, and Matt Castle making his first start for the Vikings. He's looking for Greg Jennings on a hitch route. He cuts back up the field, down the middle of the field. He goes 70 yards for a touchdown. Greg Jennings' first touchdown as a Viking. Vikings go up 10-0 in London. Loving London, at least in the first quarter. Kevin and Solomon.
That's a former Chief throwing to a former Green Bay Packer. Both first-year Vikings. First and 10 from the 33. Eckenbach with a nice block at the guard, just out of the reach of the lunging T.Y. Hilton, who's out of Florida International. They traded up in the draft to get him, a former third-round pick.
I got to tell you, he's wide open on this one. Look, his play action coming in. Now, Luck's just got to make a better throw. Not only should he not have to dive for that pass, he should be able to catch that one and running with it. Ball placement, very important for quarterbacks, and Andrew Luck knows he should have had that one.
Let it roll, let it roll.
And on second down and 10. Richardson. He was trying to throw a block, and they go inside, and a bunch on the pile, including Andre Branch. It is a gain of the yard, and Trent takes it near the 35.
Very important to get the run game going. And we talked to Andrew Luck, we talked to all the players. It's a far cry from the offense we saw under Bruce Arians 1 year ago. It was really predicated on Luck throwing the ball, but they want to be the kind of team that Chuck Pagano was around in Baltimore. Heavy run, great defense, be able to win those heavyweight fights like what you saw last week in San Francisco.
That finesse label has been removed.
This is not your Peyton Manning-led Indianapolis Colts.
On third and 9, Andrew Luck. That was deflected and picked up by Richardson, who corkscrews his way. Finally, it's Branch, and also there with the stop is Evans. He picks up 6 on third and 9. Not enough. They got to punt again.
Oh, we got to talk about this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, because Kevin, when we came to visit this team for an 0-3 team, it was the most enthusiastic and energetic 0-3 team I've ever seen. And when you put the tape on, they're not playing bad football. They're very close. And, Gus Bradley, he's shaping and forming this defense into his personality like what he had in Seattle.
McAfee will punt once again. The rookie out of South Carolina, Ace Sanders, is back to retrieve this one. And into the end zone. Touchback to the 20 on a 60-yard punt. Jaguars lead on a field goal. They're coming out for their third possession next. We got a 53-yard field goal so far from Jacksonville. Kevin Harlan and Solomon Wilcott's first and 10 after the punt. And this is the running back, Jordan Todman, out of UConn, off that Minnesota practice squad, and picks up a yard. He's to the 21. Fantasy football fans, there's still time to get in and play with the best this season. New games are available to join today. Sign up now at cbssports.com/football. First down has been a concern, so they get a yard there on the previous 3 first down, solid 4 interception, 6 yards. Todman remains. Walked by Monroe on Mathis. Great catch That's Shorts, grabbed by Delano Hall out of Stanford. That's good for a first down. A flag has gone down. The ball up to the 36 and a pickup of 15. As it stands now.
Yeah, he does a good job of going up top and hauling that one in. The ball was thrown very high, but did a good job of playing the ball in the air and high pointing it, coming down with it.
John Perry is our referee.
After the play, personal foul, offense, number 20, contact to the helmet of the opponent. It'll be 1st and 10 after a 15-yard penalty.
There is no number 20 on Jacksonville except on the defensive side, and that's Mike Harris, so he has the wrong number. Maybe he meant 30.
Yeah. But here you can see pressure coming off the top. Eugene Monroe providing pressure. You climb the pocket and drive the ball down the field. But, Gabbert throws that one high. But watch the adjustment by Cecil Shorts. See, if he doesn't go up and get that one, maybe one of those defenders, Howell or Davis, is going to intercept it. Both quarterbacks have already thrown an interception in this game so far. And we can see Jacksonville continues to take big plays off the board with a penalty or an error. You can see Gus Bradley saying, who did you call that on? We don't even have a number 20 on the field.
You know what? They brought out the fullback,
Illegal substitution, 12 men in the huddle.
He stayed in too long.
First down.
It was obvious.
Wow. These are the kind of mistakes, if anything, that have plagued this team. There are simple errors, unforced errors, but when they line up and just flat out play, they can be very competitive.
Look at Gus Bradley, first-year head coach, as we mentioned. Played some defensive back and punter at North Dakota State, which has been a terrific football school for many years. 1st and 15. Jones-Drew is in. Bernard Robinson, boy, they try to get him involved in the offense. He fumbled last week. He drops it right there, although Bethea is on it. And they call it a fumble. And they say it's recovered at the 10 by Antoine Bethea on what appeared to be just a dropped ball.
Well, let's see if it's ruled a backwards pass, it's a fumble. But that appears to be forward. He's clearly across the line of scrimmage right there. Okay, watch where Gabbert is. He's on the
call.
10. And you can see, yeah, this has got to be an incomplete pass. Because Bernard Robinson is clearly in front of him beyond where Gabbert was when he threw the football.
There's the former Michigan quarterback. We talked about him earlier, and he is a guy that's been returning. He's also been playing some back. He played some Wildcat. They're trying to find a place to put him, but he fumbled, like I said last week, and he drops an open shot right there.
He was at point-blank range, and Gabbert threw a 90-mile-per-hour fastball to him.
Duck. 2nd down and 15. Gabbert short underneath. That's Jones-Drew. There's Jarrell Freeman, who makes the stop after a gain of 5. Maurice catches his 4th pass of the season.
We talked about this team being upbeat and enthusiastic. We talked to Maurice Jones-Drew about it. He said, on the outside, people think that we're smiling and having fun. We're not happy about being 0-3. We don't like losing games, but their new head coach, Gus Bradley, has created an environment that he wants to be stress-free. He says, hey, we're applying pressure to go out and give us execution and effort, but we believe that the players don't perform well when stressed out.
Who does?
That's an interesting take, I'll tell you that.
Into the nickel, 3rd and 10 for Blaine Gabbert out of the University of Missouri. The pressure up the middle. Chased on the play by Matthews, and then just whips it away. And incomplete.
Talking about
flag down,
yeah.
Solomon, at the 13-yard line.
Absolutely. Talking about playing under pressure.
Holding, offense, number 65. Penalty's been declined. Result of the play, 4th down.
Will Rackley, and he is an issue on that line.
Yeah, that left guard position struggled last week in Seattle, again struggling today, as we saw Blaine Gabbert running for his life.
Ryan Angerer will punt. He set an NFL rookie record last year for gross and net. And T.Y. Hilton is back to retrieve this for the Colts. Coming off a 27-7 win in San Francisco last week, and they blow that baby dead in mid-motion. False start on Jacksonville.
False start, offense, number 30, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Todman again.
Jacksonville just racking up the penalties. We're not even talking about forced errors. These are unforced errors, penalties. They're moving backwards in terms of yards, even after the big catch by Cecil Shorts. Gus Bradley's group just continue to make mistakes and shoot themselves in the foot.
Anger at the punt, and here comes Hilton under it. He had a boot on this week. He has an injured toe, but here he comes out of the blocks. Past the 40 and brought down. Przinski was right there. Also Clay Harbor. 7-yard return. 49-yard punt. Here comes Andrew Luck and Indianapolis. Back in Jacksonville, each quarterback has thrown a pick. Here comes another possession, the 4th for Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis offense.
Yeah, they haven't done much with the football right now. Only 40 yards total offense for Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts.
They split their tight end to the bottom of your screen. Dominic Jones, 1st and 10. 4 of 8 is Luck going deep and looking for Hayward Bay and broken up on the play. Beautifully defended Josh Evans, who is a rookie and a 6th-round pick out of the University of Florida. 2nd down and 10, and down a Jaguar.
Yeah, but it's a lot of traffic.
Yeah,
look at that. There's 3 defenders there, and this is the area. Remember, they drafted 8 players in the 2013 draft for Jacksonville. 5 of them were defensive backs, and that's where Gus Bradley sort of made his name as a coach in the National Football League, coaching that secondary in Seattle.
I think that is Alan Ball, who's been battling a groin. We have an injury timeout. It was Alan Ball, and they've obviously taken him to the sideline. Here was the play moments ago.
There you can see, nearly had that ball intercepted, ran into his own defender, our own teammate, I should say, number 37, Jonathan Cyprian.
So now they've got Demetrius McCray in there. That means there are 3 rookies in the Jacksonville secondary. McCray is out of Appalachian State, 7th-round pick. Here's a 2nd down and 10 for Luck. Takes his time, finds Reggie Wayne and gets a block from Fleener and takes it downfield with the stop there by Hayes. Reception number 987, 24-yard gain and a 1st down.
This is Pep Hamilton just giving Andrew Luck a pass that he complete right over the center of the field, and he drives it right in there, and Wayne rewards his quarterback for the accurate throw. They need to get Andrew Luck settled down, no pressure in his face, able to step up and hit Wayne in stride over the middle of the field.
On to the 34. Luck. Havili, the ex-Eagle. Brought down read nicely that time by rookie Josh Evans. It is a gain of 3. And they'll plop him down at the 31. And Havili, who they traded to get, is down and injured, as you can see.
They can ill afford to lose him. One of the most significant components to this newly fashioned tough, hard-nosed offense has been the insertion of a fullback into their offensive scheme. And Stanley Havili is a versatile player. He can catch it, he can run it, but he is a devastating blocker at the line of scrimmage.
Well, Andrew Luck told us last night having a real fullback, and this is kind of a dying breed in the NFL, has been very helpful.
See, right there, he falls on his elbow and probably jammed either the elbow or the shoulder. Didn't protect himself really well, and he's smiling. They talk about his energy and attitude in practice and in the huddle. He brings something to this offense that probably hasn't been there in quite some time. In fact, they really wouldn't even keep a fullback on the roster during the days of a Peyton Manning. They didn't even use a fullback in that offense.
Now you find tight ends going in there to play the versatile position. They can block, they can be in the backfield, you can spread them out, you can put them in the slot, and that's what teams are doing, using tight ends instead of real fullbacks.
Chuck Pagano called Stanley Havili a rare breed. He said you don't even have them coming out of college anymore, not a true fullback.
But he pays dividends for a run-first team, although they have thrown almost twice as much as they have run today. 3 carries and 9 yards on the ground. Here is a 2nd down and 7 for Luck. Second option underneath Hilton. Hit by Cyprian. Made sure he was put down by Blackman. Picks up 8. Put him at the 23 to New York and James.
Kevin knows this as well as I do. Early season surprise. Yes, 11-play, 98-yard drive. Alex Smith to Sean McGrath. 5-yard touchdown. Chiefs up 7-0.
Yes, indeed. They keep it going. Let's take it back to Kevin Harlan and Solomon Wilcots.
And he's a tight end, and they don't have many of them in Kansas City. The Chiefs, one of a couple teams that have not turned the ball over at all this season.
You protect the football, you're going to win a lot of games.
Absolutely. Ask Luck. have but one turnover, number 3 in the league, 1st and 10. Good block by Shirless to the end zone, broken up beautifully on the play. And you see Evans get in front. This is a kid who's taking the place of the injured Dwight Lowry, the veteran, and has played well.
They play very physical on the back end. This pass intended by Kobe Fleener. You can see both corner and safety arriving there to get that ball out. It's a good throw by Luck, but even better defense on the back end. These secondary members of the Jaguars defense, they're getting better every week. You better get them early. They're rookies, but they're good.
3 of them, you're right. 2nd and 10. Richardson stacked up. Boy, he's got a target on his back. We did a Cleveland game last week without Richardson. Did him early in the season with Richardson. And you pointed out that, here is the number 3 overall pick, and he's only averaging 3.5 yards per carry.
And he knows it, and I think that's why he was, a tradable commodity. The ability to churn out yards, keep the offense on schedule, not create 3rd and long for your quarterback. That's what running backs are asked to do in today's National Football League. Got to get the bang for the buck by creating 4 yards or better per carry.
He's now split atop your screen. 5 in the secondary, 3rd and a long 8 for Luck. The blitz. He gets by 2. He's on the move, and this is what he does so well. Andrew Luck inside the 5. It's a 17-yard run brought down by Evans. 1st and goal to go, Indianapolis.
See, they blitz Andrew Luck. Now, if you blitz him, you better tackle him. You see coming from the 2nd level right there. And if you miss with man-to-man coverage on the back end, the defenders can't see him. They have their backs turned to Luck, and his athleticism and mobility is so dangerous, he'll just shred you. That's what makes Andrew Luck, I think, one of the finer young quarterbacks in our league. He's a good passer of the football. He reads defense as well, but his athleticism is at the top level for quarterbacks in our league.
Mincy couldn't get him. Puz Lusney couldn't get him. A 17-yard run setting up the Colts at the end of 1.
Let's get ready to rock! Fight, 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 fight.
We start the 2nd quarter here in Jacksonville after a 17-yard run by Luck, setting up 1st and goal at the 4.
Richardson's been very good. He's shown a nose for the end zone early in his career.
Well, you've mentioned before you like him here a lot. Good block by Richardson. And whistling over the head of Reggie Wayne. Incomplete the coverage on the play by Evans.
He tried to sneak one to the back of the end zone. We talked about Richardson being very good in and around the goal line. 12 touchdowns in 18 career games so far for the young running back. And even scored last week against San Francisco in his first carry as an Indianapolis Colt.
We talked to him last night. We told him, hey, you forced the most missed tackles of any running back coming into this week in the NFL.
Unfortunately, most of them in Cleveland have been while he was in the backfield.
That's true. There were a bunch. 9th play of the drive. 2nd and goal at the 4. Costanzo with the block, and off of about everybody's hand. Ricochets off 1 and 2 like a rock skipping on the water. Incomplete. 3rd and goal coming up.
And whenever you see a fullback like Havili lined up out wide, down on the goal line, that tells you about his versatility, as that ball was nearly intercepted by Allen Ball. But Havili, the fullback, lines up out wide. They're trying to get linebackers out of space, and that way Andrew Luck had the linebackers went out to cover Havili. He'll keep it on a quarterback draw.
He's more than just window dresser.
Absolutely. He's a tough, hard-nosed quarterback. He will run it in.
5 defensive backs, 3rd and goal at the 4. Wow, what a catch out of bounds on the chalk. Reggie Wayne, and again the coverage by the rookie Josh Evans. His eyes have got to be wide, wide open going up against number 87.
What a throw from Luck to the back pylon, just past the intended. Look at that. Past Allen Ball. I think he even grazed that ball, and Reggie Wayne still catches it, but he just can't get both feet in. I think that left toe might have hit the white chalk. The officials are right on top of it.
And good to see Ball back in there, paying dividends. Wayne couldn't get his feet down, and now here is Adam Vinatieri. Missed a long one last week, a 50, make it a 22-yarder. He missed a 51-yarder last week. He knocks in that 22-yarder. And they had it first and goal at the 4, and they settle for 3, which ties the game just into the second quarter in Jacksonville. Thursday on CBS, the only thing worse than having your parents split up is having to move in. Will Arnett, Margot Martindale, and Bo Bridges are the Millers. It premieres Thursday after The Big Bang Theory, only CBS. So in the first goal-to-go situation today for the Colts, they have to settle for 3. And what about the difference run pass? 5 run, 16 pass for Indianapolis.
Counterintuitive, especially based on what we said at the outset of today's game. We expected them to come out running it.
And the return out to the 20-yard line. Last week they were just dead even in what they were doing as Denard Robinson takes it out and returns at 23 yards. Last week they were like 35 and 35.
But they're in a goal-to-go situation, and they throw the ball on 3 consecutive plays for the offense coordinator, Pep Hamilton. And Chuck Pagano talked about it. He says, yeah, we've got to become more balanced. We want to run the football more. I'm surprised by the game that Pep Hamilton's calling in the early going, and Luck got off to a slow start. They were better on that drive, but they're moving away from their tendency to dominate in the run game.
Actually, 39-35 run to pass last week, and here comes Justin Forsett, who tries to find a little running room and picks up 3 on the play and takes it out to the 23-yard line. Forsett had a 3-game stint with Indianapolis back in 2008.
Yeah, and I think it's also imperative for these Jaguars to get some continuity going running the football. You can see the first half, that last first half, of course, they've struggled in the first half of ball games. 28 drives, 130 plays, but haven't been able to put a lot of points on the board.
Delano Hall is down, as you can see. He's taken the place of the injured Pro Bowler LaRon Landry. While we have a moment here, let's take you to our CBS studios in New York and James Brown.
Houston getting it done.
Yes, Matt Schaub throws a 5-yard pass out here in the flat to Arian Foster, wide open. He goes in for a touchdown. Texans up 14-3 on Seattle.
Well, the AFC has dominated the NFC so far, winning 11 out of 14 matchups. We'll see how this one pans out. Let's take it back to Kevin and Solomon.
That is a good note. You can see what they've done in September.
And how about the AFC South landing those kind of blows? Because it was these Colts who went out to San Francisco to beat the NFC West. And now how about the other AFC South team in Houston laying it on the talented team from Seattle?
Howell goes off. Joe LaFege will take his place. And LaFege is battling a knee. It's 2nd down and 7. Maurice Jones-Drew got by Chapman, and then takes it in, and there is Anger who brings him down. Redding was there too, and it is no gain on the play. They stay at the 23.
One of the things that this Indianapolis Colts team wanted to do during the offseason, they wanted to improve their run defense. And so they bring over guys like Eric Walden, Ricky Jean-Francois, who's out of today's game, but they have improved their ability to defend the run far beyond what we saw last year.
Bjorn Werner's now out. Foot strain, he's gone. You just mentioned Ricky Jean-Francois. He is out. 3rd down and 7. It's short, and they were looking for Jeremy Ebert, and the coverage on the play by Darius Butler, and a flag is down at about the 25-yard line. There's John Perry. His dad was a longtime NFL referee.
Prior to pass, holding, defense, number 50, 5-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
Seems like sometimes they can't get out of their own way, and that is a penalty on Jarrell Freeman, the leading tackler for the Colts.
Yeah, Freeman's matched up against Alan Reisner. You can see him right here working against the tight end. And as he comes across, see they're holding him right there. That's why they called it. That was more of a mugging. He is so good in coverages, Jarrell Freeman, normally using his feet and not his hands.
Jones-Drew on 1st and 10. And he submarines his way in. Angrer brings him down. Angrer's been inactive 2 of the 3 games so far this season with the knee. A 4-yard gain there by Jones-Drew to the 32-yard line. But this is an important guy in the linebacking core for Indy.
I think Maurice Jones-Drew is one of these guys, and as you take a look at Angrer, I think they've got to give him more action. 6 carries, 15 yards so far. He says he's getting stronger each and every week, coming off a foot injury from a year ago and an early season ankle injury.
On second down and 6, Jones threw. Tripped up. You may recall he missed the last, and there was a ball was knocked away, but it's a gain of 2, and he was out to the 34. You may recall last year that Jones-Drew was injured. He missed the last 10 games with a broken bone in his foot.
But you can see, look at what he's done for this franchise. Second only behind the great Fred Taylor. Even more rushing touchdowns than any other player to play for this franchise, and over 10,000 total yards from scrimmage. He's been a very productive player. I still think he can continue to be.
He looks at 8 guys in the box as a sign of respect.
He sure does.
On third and 4. Bobbled, intercepted. There's Darius Butler with an escort and the quarterback to beat, and he'll take it to the house on a pick 6. Darius Butler picks off Gabbert, his second interception today.
They told Gabbert to play more loose, take more chances. He took a shot at trying to get the ball over to Cecil Short, and I thought it was going to be initially intercepted by Vontae Davis, 23. He breaks on it first, and you're going to see to the right side of your screen, look, Vontae Davis tips it, and then it's scooped up by Butler, and he takes it in. Both defenders had an opportunity to intercept that ball. They broke on it well, turned it into 6 points.
8th career interception. And he's got 4 touchdowns, and the extra point by Vinatieri is in. He's played for Carolina and New England and now the Colts, and he returns at 41 yards to put Indy on top. For Butler, it's only his second season with the Colts, but he had 2 pick sixes last year, including here at Jacksonville early November, an 11-yard return. Also picked off Kansas City's Brady Quinn just before Christmas, returned that 32 yards. So he's had 3 interception returns for a touchdown as Robinson hits the chalk and out of bounds, and that was a terrific pick, and it's 10-3 Indy.
He's a former second-round pick for the New England Patriots. Here's Cecil Shorts. He's going to run the out here. And Vontae Davis, 23, is an initial bump-and-run coverage, and you have Butler at the second level. He's covering another receiver, but watch. Ball deflected. Butler scoops it up. This one's just way too easy. Give the general manager, Ryan Grigson, a lot of credit. He's acquired players off the street. He's made trades, 16 trades in all in less than a year and a half to bring over players like Butler and Vontae Davis and other members to help transform this roster.
It is the second pick 6 thrown by the quarterback Blaine Gabbert this season. Starting again at the 21st and 10. He's being chased, and on the move he goes, and finally Pat Anger out of the University of Iowa brings him down. A scramble of 5 to the 25.
Now let's ask ourselves the question on Blaine Gabbert. He's already thrown 2 interceptions in this game. He was asked to come out and play a little bit loose, to not be afraid to make mistakes, but after 2 critical errant passes that have led to interceptions here in the first half, now you're getting tucking and running, maybe watching the pass rush, a little more hesitant and not cutting the ball loose.
Which was his problem before.
Easy, easy, easy. It's the Wyoming odd. What is it? Wyoming odd. Like 51.
On second down and 5, Maurice Jones-Drew plugging it up. There just is not a lot of room there. Freeman is at the bottom of the pile. Angerer is there as well. It's a gain of 4.
Blaine Gabbert's come out. He's cut it loose, Kevin. And look at this one. Just a good play by Vontae Davis to get the interception. Trusting his receiver is going to catch it here to Cecil Short. It's tipped, intercepted by Darius Butler. Returned 41 yards for a touchdown. And now Gabbert's got to be questioning just how much he can trust himself to cut it loose. Only 31 yards passing so far in the game today.
On third and 1. Jones-Drew, not much there. Sergio Brown with a big hit. And also in there, Cam Johnson, acquired in a trade from San Francisco. He was there to stop it. And they appear to be shy.
Third and short. If you're Jacksonville, with your quarterback struggling, Kevin, you've got to be able to convert these into first down. Take a look at it here, running behind the fullback. Jones-Drew slamming it up in there. Robert Mathis coming off the corner. Freeman getting his nose in there. Number 50, he's all over the football field. And they're forced to punt it.
So Jacksonville in their possessions today, 2 interceptions, 2 punts, and the 53-yard field goal by Scobie. Brian Anger will punt. Boy, if Anger punts to Angerer, we've got ourselves a real situation here. Here's T.Y. Hilton. I don't think that'll happen, but we never know. And Hilton getting some blocks, and no yellow on the field as he goes to the far side and then knocked out of bounds on the play with some nice special teams work by Reynolds. 9-yard return, 61-yard punt.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Chrysler. Imported from Detroit. Samsung Smart TV. TV has never been better. And by Bud Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Dan, Shannon Bilmer, and Coach Bill Cowher for the latest NFL scores and highlights from our CBS studios in New York. That's coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. We've got the number 4 run attack of Indianapolis against the number 31 run defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 27 yards on the ground, but 17 by the quarterback on a scramble luck. Here they start at the 19. First down and 10 after Jacksonville punts. And he's got Kobe Fleener, who's grabbed by rookie Jonathan Cyprien out of Florida International. It is a gain of 12. It is a first down, and they'll put the ball at the 32 in a game that was a little bit scary considering the great emotion in that win, beating San Francisco on the West Coast by 20 last weekend.
And what does Chuck Pagano do to caution his team from complacency? He had mouse traps put in every locker on Wednesday as the players came in to work, and many of the veterans says, it's nice to be reminded, but they're such a professional team. They felt it wasn't warranted, but you know what? The coach is not going to leave any stone unturned.
Richardson on first and 10, met by Puz Leslie and others on a gain of a yard.
Pagano and many of the players for the Colts said it was no disrespect to the Jacksonville Jaguars, not sensing a letdown because the Jaguars are 0-3, but more it's about the complacency after winning a big game and having so many great things said about you during the week with the national media. Pagano wanted to get out in front of it to make sure that his players were focused and ready for today's game.
Nickel secondary for Jacksonville, second down and 9. Good run, Donald Brown bursting up the middle, and there he goes on a foot race with Harris all the way down to the 15-yard line. Donald Brown, a former number 1 pick out of the Big East. It is a 52-yard run. He's out of UConn, and he flies downfield.
Oh, great blocking, trap blocking, getting to the second level, and maybe this is something we haven't quite seen from Ahmad Bradshaw or Trent Richardson, the ability to hit the home run in the run game. He split the defense very well. Good blocking up front, and this guy's getting vertical. They barely catch him.
First and 10. Underneath, Brown inside the 10. Chased and hit on the play by former Buccaneer Geno Hayes. It is a pickup of 9. With Bradshaw injured, Brown now becomes the backup.
And if you're Brown, you're a former first-round pick, and they sign Ahmad Bradshaw during the offseason as an unrestricted free agent. They trade a first-round pick to bring in Trent Richardson. Don't you kind of sense that the competitiveness in Donald Brown's about to come out right now? And even Chuck Pagano saying, that's what I'm talking about, son.
Offensive player of the year in the Big East when he came out as a number 1 5 years ago out of UConn. Second and 1. Richardson back in. Havili the block. And he'll corkscrew down to the 1. As Lesney makes the stop, it is a gain of 7. So Fleener has caught 1 for 11. Brown with the 52-yard run and a 9-yard reception.
And this is why coaches have gone to a committee of running backs. They compete. Every time they get a chance to carry the ball, you don't want to come off the field. So you try to do what you saw Trent Richardson doing right there. Get to the end zone. Great tackle by Paul Puslusky.
As you were saying earlier, this is where Richardson really earns his money. Very tough inside the 5.
Check out!
Jones in motion. Richardson, Havili the block. That is a Colts touchdown. Boy, he was led by the fullback. He knifes his way in, and the Colts build on their lead.
It's all set up by the run by Donald Brown, getting them into field position. And if you want to finish off a drive down and around the goal line, give it to Trent Richardson. That's his 13th touchdown in his 19th career game. And this is where I think he is really good. He's going to add something to this football team. He's got a nose for the end zone.
Had a touchdown run last week in San Francisco on his first carry. Vinatieri puts it up and through. Another one is tacked on. Under 6 to play in the second quarter. With the Colts on top, 17-3. Donald Brown on the dash of 52. And then the slice inside by Richardson. Donald Brown on the left had 3 carries and 25 yards last week out in San Francisco. Comes up with a huge 52-yard run here to set up the touchdown yard, 1-yard run by Trent Richardson.
Well, it's great to see that they've got their rushing attack going. That's how they want to do it, to protect their quarterback. And now if you're Jacksonville, you've got to find a way to score some points.
And this goes over the head of Todman, who is deep back for the Jaguars and out of bounds. Touchback to the 20-yard line with NFL Mobile's free trial. Get 60 minutes of free live video access to exclusive premium content on your smartphone. Go to NFL.com/mobile to learn more. Couple interceptions thrown by the quarterback of the Jaguars, Blaine Gabbert, with some interesting numbers so far by this team.
Yeah, they're not protecting the football. They're allowing teams to score points in bunches, particularly early in ball games.
Look out. Here comes Mathis. There goes Gabbert. He throws it away. Since they went to that 34, Mathis now stands up, and he is a load on the wing.
No, he's made a wonderful transformation from a guy who had his hand on the ground in a 4-3 defense, playing that defensive end position opposite of Dwight Freeney for so many years. And then here comes Chuck Pagano last year, installing a 3-4 defense, asking to stand up, drop in coverage, play outside linebacker, and Mathis has made a great transition, allowing him to be the linchpin of the defense.
Easy. Go, Liz. Lear on. Oh, shit.
Second down and 10. Whoops. Little confusion out there for Gabbert, and setting his protections, and a timeout taken. Under 6 to play in the first half. And the Colts have jumped out 17-3.
Colts there by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Only 61 yards of total offense.
For the Jacksonville timeout, second down and 10. Cecil Shorts got away from Davis and run out of bounds on the near side by Freeman. He picks up 4 yards. He gets up to the 24-yard line. But you know, when you're 0-3 and you're staggering the way this team is right now, and you've got a bunch of journeymen, you got a bunch of young players on this team, and it is one of the top 5 youngest teams in the NFL. Gus Bradley's got his work cut out for him.
And that's why he's trying to change the culture. He's trying to do some things from within to help the players to go out and perform well. And, you know, to blame Gabbert's, I guess, to his credit, he's hanging in there. This is the 3rd offensive system he's been in, and he's only been in the league for 3 years. So every year, there's a huge learning curve for the young quarterback.
Four set in the backfield, 3rd and a long 5. Joker with the block on Mathis. And away he goes, throwing it away again. Another incompletion. Another punt coming up for the Jaguars.
This is one where I think Blaine Gabbert's seeing ghosts, Kevin. There was no pressure. He's in the pocket, and he just takes off running. Okay, let's go ahead and roll the tape right now. Now, go ahead and freeze it. Stop it right there. Look, clean pocket, but he's going to escape and run over here, and all he's got to do is step up in the pocket. See, he's just vacating the pocket when he had clean protection, and he runs himself into trouble.
Anger, the punt for Jacksonville. T.Y. Hilton is back, looking up into that bright Florida sun, and he bobbles the ball and then falls back out at about the 29-yard line. 48-yard punt by Brian Anger. So the Colts will get it again, and it began with a pass the last time they had it to the tight end, Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, well, they got it going. They're getting luck out of the pocket. Then a 50-yard run by Donald Brown to go deep inside Jacksonville territory. And from there, they just hand the ball over to Richardson, running behind the fullback Stanley Havili, and doing what Trent Richardson does so well for Chuck Pagano, finding the end zone. You know, this is a team that's built differently. They can win, I think, in a shootout with Andrew Luck, but it's nice to know they can win playing it close to the best with running game and good defense.
Fullback was a tight end, as you saw. First down and 10 for Luck. Outside, low, Wayne, incomplete. Coverage on the play by Alan Ball. Luck has hit 7 different receivers this afternoon here in Jacksonville.
And you see how Luck climbed the pocket there with it squeezing in around him. Truly comfortable. Vision down the field, finding his open receivers.
Flag was
Prior to
thrown.
pass, holding, defense, number 23, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
It's an Alan Ball who was defending Reggie Wayne.
See, take a look at Luck. He won't escape to the right or the left. You're going to find receivers by stepping up in the pocket and driving the ball. See how he just keeps his vision down the field, and that's something you want from Blaine Gabbert. Now take a look at Wayne, working in coverage, ball holding on beyond the 5-yard boundary area. Wayne never caught that ball, but he did get the penalty on Allen Ball.
You know, that's what Jason Babin said the other day. He says the thing that impresses him most about Luck is his eyes are always downfield.
You think he was telling us something about his own quarterback?
Maybe. Here comes Richardson on 1st and 10, and holding on for dear life there is Geno Hayes. He was with Gus Bradley in Tampa. Being a 6 on the play up to the 39-yard line.
Oh, this offense is, I think, built and ready to go. I think it was tough for them to switch from what they did a year ago under Bruce Arians. Remember, they won 11 games. They went to the playoffs, and they totally overhauled the offense.
2nd and 4. Richardson the block. And that is caught by Wayne, who is covered by Blackman, and they call it as they discuss, a completion of 28 yards at the 33.
Wow.
They finally ruled that it was a completion.
Kevin, there was pressure all in the face of Andrew Luck. Watch him. And then Richardson tries to stop him. He can't do it. And it's just great pressure by Cinderic Marks. I don't know how Andrew Luck completes that pass with Marks all in his face and hovering on him in the backfield.
Reggie Wayne with the catch, at least as it stands now. Here comes the challenge flag. Thrown out by Bradley, the coach of Jacksonville.
Jacksonville has challenged the previous play, completed catch or an incomplete pass.
It happened right in front of the Jaguars bench, close to where Gus Bradley was standing. So they have to have a pretty good feel for this. Now let's see if his knee hit the chalk. Okay, there he is right there. Both feet are in, knee down. Oh, but the ball jostles loose there. You got to wonder if Blackman was able to get that ball out, even though Wayne had it with both knees down in possession. Watch right here. See that ball? Is it moving? Is it loose? Absolutely. The ball's out. I think they're going to take that one back. Rule it incomplete.
It's got to be through the catch.
Absolutely. And give Blackman credit for staying with the play. He was able to punch that ball out. Watch him come with the right hand, Kevin. See right there. That ball's caught now, but see, punches it out. And then Wayne hits the ground. Oh, it's just great by look at all the coaches here, standing here. Look at all of them getting an eyeball. They could have been officiated the play. See, they see that ball come out, and so the red flag comes out from Gus Bradley. Got to give Wayne a lot of credit for staying with it, making the catch. Just well defended by Will Blackman.
Just didn't look like he had possession through the catch.
Absolutely. You got to hold on and maintain possession even after making contact to the ground, and that ball came out before he made contact.
You know, you said something just a minute ago as I take a look at the replay here, and that is, here's an 11-5 playoff team that is going through the Bruce Arians throw the ball, stretch the field, and then they kind of revamp the entire look offensively and go to a stop the run the ball type of philosophy. I wonder if that was a hard sell in that locker room to his players after they had had such great success a season ago throwing a lot.
I think normally it would be, but he said, Chuck Pagano did of his quarterback, he said the one who bought in the most is number 12, our quarterback, who he said of Andrew Luck is the most selfish player, most unselfish, I should say, player that he's ever been around. Open to doing whatever the coaches want. He understands it's going to help them to protect the quarterback better and maybe even extend his career. And even guys like Reggie Wayne says, look, we don't mind running the football because we know when we have to throw it and spread it around, we know we
After
can.
reviewing the play, it's an incomplete pass. The receiver did not maintain control of the ball throughout the act of completing the catch. It'll be third down. Please reset the game clock to 4:13. Jacksonville is not charged with a timeout.
So it'll be third down and 4. Ball will be back at the Indianapolis 34-yard line. Look at Gus Bradley, who got this job and has tried to go at it from a different angle. A complete rebuild here, as you mentioned before, the good term, changing the culture.
Yeah, they want to change and the culture, create an atmosphere of competition, void of stress and anxiety. At 0-3 playing the way they are today, boy, my anxiety would be at a very high level.
It's Havili in the backfield on a third down and 4. Luck, Wayne, he gets a block downfield from Hayward Bay, and he takes the ball on a catch and run to the 30-yard line of Jacksonville. 31-yard pickup, out of bounds he goes, 1st and 10 Colts.
And Kevin, even though they're running the ball 47% of the time, as we talked about in this new transformed offense, they can still do this. They can still throw it when they want to, make plays, passing the ball, getting the ball to Reggie Wayne, who has been awesome on third down plays all season long. Reggie Wayne has came into today's game with 5 catches on third down, all of them converted into first downs.
Past Randy Moss in terms of receptions, number 9 now all-time. That happened last week. Here's a 1st and 10 for Luck. Going deep and nobody home. T.Y. Hilton was at about the 5, and it whistles away. 2nd down and 10.
You can see still misreads between Luck and the wide receivers. He thought Hilton was going up top and staying outside. He broke it over the middle of the field. This is just sight adjustments by the quarterback and receivers based on what coverage they get from the defense. And you have to read that while running your route well after the ball has been snapped. And sometimes you can get some inconsistencies as we're seeing with this Colts offense.
Richardson back there with Andrew, 5 in the secondary for Jacksonville, 2nd down and 10. Richardson, Shirless pulling. And the tackle was made on the play by Roy Miller, the ex-Buccaneer. That's a gain of 7 on the play for Trent. He's down to the 23-yard line.
We talked about them trying to get outside, and this Colts offense used to with their inside power run plays. But last week, Marshawn Lynch and company in Seattle, they were able to run the ball on the edges of this defense, and that's why you see Pep Hamilton designing those kind of plays to attack Jacksonville's defense in the same areas.
It's third down and 3, and outside they go. Fleener with a beat on him across the way. Allen Ball out of bounds to the 15. That is a first down, a catch and run of 8. And Fleener with his 2nd catch today.
It's a good route combination. The wide receiver on the outside, watch, he'll come in and Fleener will go out. And that draws the coverage towards the outside receiver. Ball can't get out fast enough to tackle Fleener until he hits the first down marker. Good route design, good route combination designed by Pep Hamilton.
Fleener a season ago ranked 2nd among NFL rookie tight ends with 26 receptions. 7th play of the drive, and of course, Luck feels comfortable with him.
Oh yeah, he's getting in stride now. They're now inside the red zone.
Couple of Cardinal on the Colts, 1st and 10. Look out, and what a catch by Wayne! A touchdown, Reggie Wayne. And a flag is down. We'll see if it holds.
They're waving it off, it looks like. Yep, it may be a holding call. Looks like they're waving it off.
Illegal use of hands to the face, offense.
Oh.
Number 72, 10-yard penalty, will replay. First down.
Linkenbach, who is playing the right guard for McGlynn, who is now playing the center.
And boy, did Luck climb the pocket, keep his vision downfield, found a receiver open in the end zone. But take a look right there at the right guard position. See, hand to the face, right there, that left hand. But the official on the other side of the field saw it. Wipes away a touchdown.
Colts are the least penalized team coming into this week in the NFL. They've got 2 already today.
They haven't had a lot of penalties, but that one was costly.
First and 20. it. Havili, good beat on it that time. Nice read. It was turned in by Andre Branch. It's a loss of 2, and they'll push him back to about the 27, 28-yard line. We've reached the 2-minute warning. 2 interceptions by Gabbert, 1 return to the house. 17-3 Colts. Well, Chuck Pagano got in front of his team, and his charge for this week, Solomon, was maintain our momentum. Don't look past a winless Jacksonville team after our big win in San Fran.
And I think it's proof positive that he has his finger on the pulse of his football team and understand what's needed to come out and play well after a long trip out west against the 49ers and a huge win. No letdown by Pagano's group here today.
At the 2-minute warning, 2nd down and 22 for Luck. Richardson at his side. Fake the Trent. Here comes Alualu. Bringing him down. First sack this season. He's moved to the outside this year after starting 3 years at the defensive tackle. It's a sack. It's a loss of 10. They push him back to the 36.
Not easy, and you can see Alu coming right there. He goes underneath Cherilus, able to beat number 75, Mike McGlynn, who's moved to that center position, just pulls right over him to get the sack on Andrew Luck. They thought they can pressure Luck by getting pressure up the middle, and you see him coming underneath. He was able to do so there.
There have been some interior pass blocking issues on the Colts, and a timeout taken right now. And coming up on the Verizon halftime report, join JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowell for the latest NFL scores, highlights, and news. It's all coming up next on the Verizon halftime report from our CBS studios in New York. Here is a mammoth now, 3rd and 32. Luck on 3rd down passing this drive. On 3rd and 4, hit Wayne for 31. Got Fleener for 8. On 3rd and 3, his 3-inch arm here for Luck on this drive. Hayward Bay, good beat on him here on the near side by Mike Harris. It is a gain of 4. Timeout taken by Jacksonville. The ball to the 33, and they'll try. The Colts will for 3.
Yeah, the call was intended on that bubble screen to DHB, Darius Hayward Bay. Just try to get some of it back. Don't try to get it all back, but maybe try to get your kicker a little bit closer to convert on the field goal opportunity by Adam Vinatieri.
18-year veteran Adam Vinatieri. And today has a 22-yarder. And he'll try for some more. So the big play on this drive, the 31-yard pass to Reggie Wayne. "51-yard try, the same distance that he missed in San Francisco at last week. There is a hint of wind inside the stadium this afternoon.
Wow. Really?
Everybody's moving.
Looks like Alu.
Number 93.
It's going to put him closer.
Penalty. 4th down.
Talked about the unforced errors, Kevin. Take a look right there. That's just, there's no reason for it. There's no hard count on the field goal. It's just a lack of focus by Alu to put Vinatieri, a veteran kicker, even closer to converting this opportunity.
46-yard try right now by Adam Vinatieri. And it's 20-3 the Colts. Vinatieri perfect from 46 yards away. And Luck puts 3 more with his offense on the board.
Oh, it's just a real good kick right down the middle. Vinatieri gets even closer after the penalty on Tyson Alu, and then he converts it. So this is a very poised Indianapolis Colts football team. And right now, Jacksonville's struggling. They're shooting themselves in the foot. They're making costly mistakes and penalties, giving the Colts second chances.
Well, this week, don't miss the show that's in a league by itself with guys who take on all 32 teams and each other every week. James Brown, Phil Simms, and Chris Collinsworth with the artistry of NFL films and their great chemistry, breaking down the NFL every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, only on Showtime. So the Colts, after trailing early 3-0 on a 53-yard Scobie field goal, have scored 20 unanswered second quarter points, and the most recent, the 46-yard field goal by Adam Vinatieri. And what has been, I'm sure, a very emotional week for Chuck Pagano.
Oh, yes, it's been an emotional week. Remember, it was this week last year, 1 year ago, when he was diagnosed with leukemia and had the fight of his life. And he says that he had always appreciated every day, but now he has even a greater appreciation for life. And he's doing a lot to help fight and find a cure for cancer and for leukemia. Just what a wonderful man. His player said of him, we don't like him, we love him.
Todman is back to retrieve it, and off his palms and out of bounds.
Rarely do you hear players say we love our coach, but those are the strong feelings they have for Chuck Pagano.
And the outpouring, as Chuck was telling us last week, have just been massive. In fact, last week they went out to San Francisco when he was diagnosed. He got a letter from just an NFL fan out in the Bay Area saying, you know, I know what you're going to be going through. I'm going through it myself. And the Colts arranged to meet that fan in San Francisco last week, and he was a guest of the Colts at that win at Candlestick. He says, I've got 1 year under my belt. When I'm 3, I've got 4 more to go. Here's a 1st and 10 for Gabbard. Forsett was in. Boy, the pocket was still there, and down he goes again. Mathis chasing him. It's a gain of a yard, or a half yard at the most. Now we'll call it 2nd down and 10.
You know, you can ask, should Indy call timeouts and try to, get something going on this drive? But the way they are struggling right now, you start calling timeouts and then you go 3 and out, punt the ball back to Indy in good field position. They'll be able to score even more points. You whittle time off the clock right here.
They call it a sack. Forsett on 2nd down and 10. And he got by Toll. And then here comes the welcoming party led by Antoine Bethea, and a timeout taken, no gain on the play. And the boos start coming again. And they did call the time. I was waiting there for it to be called. And the ball back to the 18. All right, we wanted to get this in about the last time they scored a first half touchdown, and we go back to December 30th of last year, week 17 at Tennessee.
It's the last time they scored a touchdown in the first half of a ball game. They've now gone 30 straight offensive possessions without penetrating the end zone in the first half of a ball game. You can see they're trailing 75-8 in the first half this season. So the inability to get something going on offense with Blaine Gabbert or Chad Henne, either one of their quarterbacks, have really hurt this football team, digging a huge hole for themselves.
Forsett remains 3rd down and 12. And that's caught and grabbed on the play by Jeremy Ebert. He's out of Northwestern. He just got off the practice squad. It's a gain of 5. Butler there to make the stop. The gain to the 23, well shy of the 1st down. 4th and 7 coming up, and another punt coming up for Jacksonville.
Colts used that one timeout. Now get the stop here. 46 seconds left. This is a team that takes advantage of every single opportunity. Remember in the days of Peyton Manning, he tried to score with whatever time was left at the end of the first half. If he was going to get the ball back quickly in the second half with that first possession, he could open up a huge lead with just those 2 possessions alone. One at the end of the first half and then to start the second half.
3rd consecutive 3 and out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Angers had a busy day so far. Was almost blocked by the tight end Dominic Jones, and that ball will bounce in front of T.Y. Hilton, who will let the ball roll inside the 30-yard line. 34 seconds remaining. The Colts a single timeout on a 47-yard punt. And tomorrow on CBS, some men are for marrying, and some are just for fun. 3-time Emmy Award winner Tony Shalhoub stars in the new comedy We Are Men. The series premiere tomorrow after How I Met Your Mother. Only CBS.
Sometimes if you're a football team like Jacksonville, you just want to kind of get in at halftime and regroup.
Second. 51.
Colts have that single timeout, and it's 1st and 10 for Andrew Luck. Gonzo the good block. They come on the near side. Marks got through. Outside it goes. Fleener the catch in front of the defensive back Mike Harris, and a pickup of 11.
After completing that pass, now you got to wonder if the Colts want to get themselves in a position where Vinatieri can kick yet another field goal. You get to that 35-yard line, that's well within his range. And if you're Jacksonville, you got to understand this Colts team, they're keeping their foot right there on the pedal to try to get more points on the board.
Well, in this league, I don't think you can ever let up.
That's right.
First and 10.
Inside. 21. 90.
Donald Brown was in. They come at him, and he gets a nice block on the play from Hugh Thornton and weaves his way for 9. Luck had a 9-yard run right there, had a 17-yard run earlier in the game. They're near midfield at their 49-yard line.
And we thought that Luck could hurt this defense today by tucking and running the ball at times when he gets man-to-man coverage, as he does right here. And there you see the pressure, coverage good on the back end. But when the defenders have their back turned to the quarterback, particularly a mobile quarterback like Andrew Luck, he can really break you down and hurt you by running the football.
Colts are very good in time of possession, averaging about 31 minutes a game so far. They've held it almost 4 minutes more than the Jacksonville Jaguars so far. Second down and 1.
3-0.
Good block by Brown. They come up the middle with the blitz by Cyprien, and that is incomplete. Harris had a hand on it, as you saw, and 10 seconds to play in the half.
Boy, Cyprien, the blitzing safety, watch him come here. He's got to be able to make that tackle, but they're able to knock him off stride.
Lincoln
Luck, Lincoln knocks him off stride. He buys more time, but then the pressure alone forced Lux to throw the errant pass. That pass nearly intercepted. Got to be able to haul that one in if you're Mike Harris. Hit you right in the hands, pull it in.
There's a look at Harris, who's out of Florida State. Second-year player and a 6th-round pick a season ago. It's 3rd and 1.
Got all day now.
Andrew look out from behind, and he unleashes one to the end zone, and incomplete for Hilton. The coverage by Ball and by Winston Guy. And 0's on the clock, and we're at halftime. So there was an interception of Gabbert, returned to the house. 1-yard touchdown run by Richardson, a couple field goals, and it's a 17-point Colt lead at halftime on CBS. Here at halftime, the Colts on top by 17. Time now for the DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam involving Gabbert, the quarterback for the Jaguars, and Darius Butler for the Colts.
Oh, we told you that this was a complete team, all 3 phases of the game for Indianapolis. Not just offense anymore, but the defense is a presence. Special teams playing well, forcing turnovers and takeaways, and forcing Blaine Gabbert to feel hurried and rushed to throw those 2 interceptions in the first half.
You know, the Jacksonville thing is a hard thing to wrap your arms around as they continue to almost self-destruct as the half goes on.
Oh, there's no doubt. They've had costly penalties and errors that have taken away big plays that we've seen on the board. They continue to shoot themselves in the foot, and not being able to get the ball into the end zone in the first half of ball games has cost this football team. Gus Bradley's team here in Jacksonville have gone 31 consecutive first-half possessions during the 2013 season without scoring a touchdown. So they're digging a hole early in ball games and can't climb their way out.
Well, the Jaguars won the flip of the coin to begin the game, deferred, and so they get it here to begin the second half, and this is Todman, who is hit by Connor and brought down on the play on a return of 26 yards. And the offense of the Jaguars back out there, 1st down and 10 with the look through 30 minutes of football at some of the numbers.
Only 30 yards rushing in the first half, and they're stacking the box is the Indianapolis Colts defense. 8 defenders in the box. Maurice Jones-Drew can't get it going. That means Blaine Gabbert and his wide receivers got to win against one-on-one coverage outside, but they continue to turn it over, and he and his receivers are really just not in sync and not getting the protection a quarterback needs to be productive.
Jones-Drew is in the backfield, and John Perry has decided to stop play here for a second. The clock is at 14:23. I can't believe all that time was taken off on the return, and we'll see.
The clock should have been started on the snap. Please reset the game clock to 14:50. 14:50, please.
Maybe they just like to see the game go quicker here.
What are you looking for if you're Gus Bradley from your quarterback? Settle down and start to make some plays. The pass rush isn't close to you, and so you've got to hang in there, keep your vision downfield, and the receivers have got to win against one-on-one coverage.
Gabbard, who's thrown 2 interceptions already, the pocket crumbles and down he goes on that 1st and 10. Jumping on his back, Mathis, sack number 5. He came into today, number 2 in the NFL. He had a sack last week in San Francisco.
He's working against the left tackle, Eugene Monroe. Look, coming around the corner. And when Blaine Gabbert has time to throw, he senses pressure. When he is steady in the pocket and doesn't sense the pressure, boy, there's Robert Mathis there. He goes down for his 2nd sack of the game.
Number 97 for Mathis, 2nd down and 16. Jones drew. Anger grabs him. Freeman then jumps in there as well. It is a gain of 4, and he's up to the 19-yard line.
Well, for offense, it's about getting some kind of rhythm and just getting plays. You could see 4 plays, interception, 4 plays, field goal. They had gotten the ball in plus territory after getting a turnover, and then punt, interception, and 3 consecutive punts after that. So they really struggled. When the defense doesn't get them the ball in good field position, they're not getting anything going on offense.
Force that out of the backfield. 5 in the secondary for Indy. 3rd and 12 for Gabbert. Shorts ridden down by Vontae Davis, who has a pick already today. Shy of the 1st down. Pick up a 5. It's 4th and 7, and the 4th consecutive punt coming up for Jacksonville.
Oh, you know, last week they dug a hole out in Seattle. Kind of got something going in the second half of that ball game. Failing to do so in their first possession here in the second half today.
Anger's used to punting here. He had 11 punts against Kansas City in the victory for the Chiefs earlier this season, the season opener, as a matter of fact. T.Y. Hilton is back, and he'll return it. Ooh, hit hard on the play. Drilled nicely. Todman got down there and got him. 2-yard return. 40-yard punt. Here comes Andrew Luck. His team leading by 17 early second half. The 2-1 Indianapolis Colts against the 0-3 Jacksonville Jaguars. We just had a 3-and-out. The 4th consecutive 3-and-out for Jacksonville from the 37-yard line. Luck 1st and 10.
Let it roll, let it roll, let it roll. 290!
Little block there by Havili. That buys the quarterback time. A beautiful 2-handed grab by Reggie Wayne, covered by Blackman. Flag is down, shoving after the play. 17-yard pickup as it stands right now to the 46.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 58.
Well, Babin's been known to get a little careless. He likes it in quarterback seat,
that's a
but
penalty.
helmet to the head of Andrew Luck, right under the chin, in fact.
Yep.
They're going to protect the quarterbacks from this, and Jason Babin ought to know better. He's already taken away an interception with a penalty in the first half of the game, and comes out and hurts his team with a selfish act here in the early going of the second half. And look at Goster Cherilus going to protect his quarterback, Andrew Luck, and have words with Jason Babin.
He'll probably get a note from New York, I would say, this week. A little fine will go on Babin, who they're going to yank out right now.
Yeah, that's a careless act. It hurts your football team. And I know you want to make a play, you want to get something done, want to rattle the quarterback, but you have to do so within the context of the rules.
Check out. Watch the whip. You're good, though.
1st down and 10 from the 31-yard line. Tons of the block on that left tackle. Wide open. Fleener. He will glide into the end zone for a touchdown. That was too easy. A 31-yard hit from the quarterback Luck to his tight end Kobe Fleener.
Last week it was Zach Miller, the tight end for the Seattle Seahawks, had 2 easy touchdowns against this Jaguar defense, and now Fleener, I mean, he just gets wide open. Watch this. No one covers him. They clearly drop coverage. Let him walk right down the secondary. Look at it. No one's near. Even Fleener was surprised.
I think he was.
As to how wide open. He was expecting to get a lick coming in from somewhere. There was no one there to defend him. Easy touchdown. Way too easy. Babbitt putting them in position to get the touchdown after incurring a penalty.
Fleener's second touchdown reception of the season. Vinatieri sticks on more, and the lead grows for the Colts early in the second half. Andrew Luck has just thrown his 4th touchdown pass of the year to his college tight end, Fleener.
By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Been struggling covering tight ends all season long, and Fleener just proved the point once again.
Zach Miller, tight end for Seattle, had 2 touchdown receptions. Remember, they gave up 5 touchdown passes last week to Seattle, and already Kobe Fleener said, I'm a feast on the defense as well.
Jordan Todman. Havili was there to hit him along with Darius Butler, who's returned an interception for a touchdown, and Darius a little shaken up. A return of 27 yards.
This offense and the team is struggling. Here's a look at the teams to lose their first 4 games by 10 points or more. That's double-digit losses to start the season in your first 4 games. The Bengals did it in the early 2000s along with the Redskins. As of late, only the Rams and Detroit have done it. And averaging 9 points per game offensively for Gus Bradley's group coming into today's game. They're struggling to score points.
The pitch out to Jones, Drew on first down and 10. Mathis, among others, to bring him down. Walden was there, the ex-Green Bay Packer, who has played in this defensive system before. There is no gain on the play, 2nd and 10.
Now, we can talk about the lack of scoring, but the defense, and particularly the last act by Jason Babin, it's not like giving away points when you have those kind of penalties. You know, it's selfish, and I'm sure Gus Bradley understands it. You know, he's got to find a way to get his guys to do the right thing when it matters the most.
Kill!
With a 2nd down and 10. Todman running outside. And hit on the play by Greg Toll, who came as an unrestricted free agent from the Arizona Cardinals. It's a gain of 3, and they'll spot him at the 24. You know, we talked to Gus for a long time on Friday afternoon here in Jacksonville, and the players all have said, we've never felt more together. There's great bonding on the team, whereas the outside world is looking in and saying, how can they continue to breathe this way?
Yeah, and Bradley talked about putting pressure on the players for what they can control. Things like blocking, tackling, fundamentals, obeying the rules on the field. And I think that's what you're seeing an absence of in this game today.
Among other things, 3rd and 7. Pocket goes down. The quarterback here steps, and he goes down. Well, Mathis was right at the heart of it, as was that guy. Jarrell Freeman, who played in the Canadian Football League, finally earned a ticket to the NFL, and it came with the Colts, and Mathis has been helping the young linebacker work his way. 3rd sack, loss of 5, back to the 19.
Boy, Freeman, you can see number 50. Watch, he'll come late. There he is right there at the top of your screen, just digging his way through the pile. You know, you could have given that sack to just about anyone wearing the blue jersey. There was just a floodgates opening up on Blaine Gabbert.
5th consecutive 3 and out for Jacksonville's offense, and anger. He'll send this high. There goes a flag. 36-yard line grab by T.Y. Hilton. Looking for a block from LaFage. Where's she got? And he races out of bounds. And we have shoving after the play at the 40-yard line. Brzezinski is in there with Butler. There's a 13-yard return after the 45-yard punt.
I might say these two teams don't like each other. We already talked about in the first half, Kevin, that Chuck Pagano had mouse traps in the lockers of his players when they came in on Wednesday. You only need to go back to be reminded, you know, by last year that this Jaguar team, when they were winless last year, they went into Indianapolis, beat the Colts.
Holding, number 32, receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick.
First 32 is Cassius Vaughn. Well, there's no doubt Bradley's plate is pretty full right now. 27-3 Colts. Now we just had a 5th consecutive punt by Jacksonville, and here comes Andrew Luck in the offense of Indianapolis at the 28-yard line with a 1st and 10. Richardson in the backfield. He's got a touchdown run today, and he gets the call. Stopped by Babin, hit by the rookie Cyprian. And no gain on the play, 2nd down and 10. Tonight, It's the season premiere of The Amazing Race. 11 teams take off on the adventure of a lifetime. The new race begins tonight after 60 minutes, only CBS. Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcots on a beautiful day here in Jacksonville. Second down and 10. Brown is back there with the quarterback Luck. Outside for Hayward Bay. Hit on the play by Cyprian. It is a gain of 5 to the 33-yard line. Flag.
Offside. Defense. Number 58. 5-yard penalty. Replay. Second down.
Boy, Jason Babin is struggling here.
He's going to be giving up a game check, with this kind of performance, and he's going to be pulled out of the game yet again. He's a veteran of the National Football League, 10 years in the league, and on a very young, impressionable team here in Jacksonville. You just expect a 10-year veteran to set a better example for how to conduct themselves. And, the time to display character is when the score's like this, and you're taking one on the chin, but you got to continue to play hard the right way.
Well, remember last year he was cut from Philadelphia after 11 games into the season, then reeled in by Jacksonville. Here is a second down and 5 for Andrew Luck. His tackles blocking well. T.Y. Hilton chased and ridden down on the play by Puz Lesney. It is a gain of 10. It is a first down to the 42. Let's go to James Brown in New York.
It is Castle and Jennings.
Yes, these two guys have hooked up twice today for touchdowns. This Matt Castle throw to Greg Jennings, 16 yards. Minnesota's up 34-17 in London.
Back to Jacksonville. Kevin Harlan, Solomon Wilcots.
And, of course, Ponder is out because of a cracked rib, and he didn't get the start today. Here's a first and 10 handoff. Richardson brought down by Puz Lesney, and here are the 46 on a gain of 4.
Well, there was a time if you played that way before the King, they sent you to the towel.
Holding. Offense.
Pittsburgh's got to watch themselves.
10-yard penalty. First down.
That's right. There's Hugh Thornton. He was the one that was called right there. He's in there for the injured Donald Thomas. He had his first career start last week, and he is a third-round rookie pick out of Illinois.
Jacksonville. Sorry, Kevin, but Jacksonville has a later date across the pond in London themselves coming up. And the series of NFL games to be played over in London during the course of the 2013 season.
Kind of the NFL's representative on a more regular basis over there. It's impressive. Andrew Luck, who grew up in Texas, with a first and 20. Richardson. Boy, his average today is not all that good as Mincy brings him down. It is a gain of 2. He is not getting the chunks of yard. The big run today was by Donald Brown for 52, but he's carried the ball now a handful of times. It's going to be second down and 18. But kind of we were talking about before, 11 carries and 34 yards.
And that's what we're talking about. And I just think the world of Trent Richardson. I think he's a phenomenal back. I think it was a good trade for this football team, but he's got to start churning out yards at a greater rate and improve his yards per carry average.
Father of 3 trying to get his family organized after the midseason trade. Second down 18 or early season trade. Good block by Lincoln Buck and Costanzo, and there goes Luck, quick time, and it's Hilton on the move. He got right in front of Josh Evans. Nice scrambling by Andrew Luck, pickup of 18, close to a first down. That's the one thing he can do. He can extend the play with those legs.
There's not many things that Andrew Luck can't do in his second year as an NFL quarterback. He's got it all. Look, vision down the field, moving in a great feel for how to move in the pocket and still keep his eyes downfield where he can find his wide open receiver. If you're Blaine Gabbert, you steal a page from Andrew Luck's book. You take a look at him on tape and start to mimic some of the things he's doing early in his career.
190!
On first and 10, here comes Richardson. Havili with the lead block. Shirless with the lead. And winding his way, hard to bring down the number 3 pick in Jacksonville, seeing that he coughed up the ball.
He did, but the whistle had been blown. His progress had been impeded, and the ball was stripped out, but only after they had stopped him. In fact, I even think I heard a whistle blow. Now it's going to be interesting to see what the officials rule, because I thought they were spotting it up there initially when the ball came out. Okay, they're going to huddle and talk about it, Kevin. I thought his progress had been stopped when the ball came out. Let's see if we can hear the whistle blow after his progress has been impeded.
Oh, no, it's a fumble.
Yeah, his progress had been impeded, but the whistle had not blown, and that's what the officials are discussing right now. He clearly had been stopped, but had he spun out of there and ran to the end zone, it would have been a touchdown because the whistle hadn't blown. Listen and look. There you go. Ball out, ball on the ground. Whistle had not blown.
And a great job by our people down in tape here in Jacksonville, capturing that definitively.
This has to be the loneliest time for a running back. You know you fumbled. You know the ball's out. You're just hoping that they rule in your favor.
Matt, Jeff, Ryan, and Sean down there capturing that for us.
During the time of the fumble, there was a whistle blown. The down will be replayed by rule. First down, Colts ball.
You know, instant replay is more than just about pictures, isn't it, Kevin?
Well, see, this is where replay should come into play. There should be a call downstairs. It's clearly a turnover.
We have pictures and audio. Listen in. Whistle comes after the fumble.
Blackman tore it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you need to be able to understand it. That ball came out well before the play was blown dead. The play is blown dead only when the whistle blows.
And look at the last time he lost a fumble. Of course, officially he didn't hear. They go back to 2009 when he was at Alabama. They played in Oxford. 925 carries.
Not common at all for Trent Richardson to fumble the football.
Carries and receptions. Touches. 1st and 10. Healy trying to block the oncoming rush of Allen, and down goes Luck. Russell Allen coming through with the sack. His first of the season. 2nd sack recorded by Jacksonville, a loss of 4.
Yeah, and he comes from the top of the screen. And they run right by him as he blows right by Trent Richardson, right by the left tackle as well. Anthony Costanzo.
Russell Allen starting all 16 last year for the first time, undrafted out of San Diego State. Longtime special teamer here with the Jaguars, and comes up with a nice play. 2nd down and 14. Luck looks into the nickel. He stands in that pocket well, doesn't he? And he just rifles it right into the grasp of Reggie Wayne. Brought down on the play by Evans. Wayne took a hit. It's a pickup of 23.
Right over the middle of the field, and Luck just drives one right between the defenders. And just excellent handball catcher is Reggie Wayne. Doesn't allow the ball to get into his body where it could ricochet or bounce off. I think he's kind of dinged on the play, but he has been just phenomenal. And we talked about it last night. Maybe not in Canton yet, but he's on his way. There's no doubt about it with the numbers he's putting up.
He'll turn 35 in November, and said he still speaks with his former teammate Marvin Harrison.
And Marvin Harrison, I think, will be enshrined in Canton. Reggie Wayne hoping to join him.
Tight end is the fullback here, Dominic Jones. It is a 1st and 10 from the Jacksonville 29. Richardson. He slides in. There goes Allen with the stop. It is a gain of 4. He is right near the 25-yard line. Reggie Wayne, the number 2 all-time Colts leading receiver.
Yeah, and that's because he knows how to beat man-to-man coverage. Can even beat the double team. He knows how to find the holes in the inside of zone coverage as well. He's good inside the red zone. He can even create yards after the catch. And when the ball is thrown in tight windows, look at that. Backhand catch, feet down, inbounds. There's nothing he can't do on the football field that you ask every wide receiver to do, and he's been steady for a long time in Indy.
Up with the 2nd down and 6. Blocked by Jones. Richardson grabbed by Buzz Wesney, and he sails out of bounds near the 25 on a gain of 1. And he's durable, too. Speaking of Reggie Wayne, today his 186th consecutive game played, leading all active receivers, and number 2 among all active players in consecutive games on the field.
And until Curtis Painter emerged on the scene, he had 8 consecutive seasons of 1,000 yards receiving. Look at that.
He's got 4 receptions today. Here's a 3rd and 5. Luck. Deep and caught. Fleener again. Right in the area where Cyprian was to the 9. That is a catch of 15 on 3rd and 5. It'll be 1st and goal, Indianapolis.
Well, Fleener is coming on. We know it was Dwayne Allen who had emerged as the starting tight end coming into the season. He sustains an injury. He goes on IR, out for the year. And now Fleener starting to emerge as the go-to guy at the tight end position for his former college quarterback, Andrew Luck.
1st and goal at the 9. Richardson is in. Fleener's been fun to watch. 2nd round pick. And Richardson. And hit on the play by Senderick Marks on a gain of 2 on this drive. Fleener, we just saw him catch one for 15. Reggie Wayne caught one for 23. And Hilton caught one for 18 earlier on this drive.
And now inside the red zone where you expect Trent Richardson to remain in the game. In comes Donald Brown. Let's see if they give Donald Brown an opportunity. Dwayne Walker standing to the right of Richardson, the running back coach, trying to get Richardson up to speed in the playbook in his early arrival in Indianapolis.
Back last week when they flew out to San Francisco, Richardson and Luck sat next to each other for that 4-hour flight. 2nd and goal at the 7. A little double pass to Brown. Reading it well was Jason Babbitt. He's playing for his 5th team. It's a gain of 2. He's played for Texans, for Seattle, Kansas City, Tennessee, Philadelphia, now Jacksonville. 6 of them.
They expect him to just go up the field toward the quarterback, but look, Babin wasn't influenced by the fake. See, he says, no, you're not going to fool me on that one. I'm a tier-year veteran. He sensed it. He knew that Luck wasn't going to keep it, even though he was in position to tackle Luck. Had he kept it, he still was able to slam down inside and get the tackle on Donald Brown.
5 wide, 3rd and goal at the 5. Luck has already thrown a touchdown pass today, and he's just notched another. Reggie Wayne, touchdown reception number 80 for number 87, beating the linebacker Hayes.
This is what shocks me about Jacksonville. They play a great play, but how do you forget about Reggie Wayne down here on the goal line? And Hayes bites on the outside fake. He looks inside. He loses sight on Wayne. The safety on the back end never covers Wayne. Well, that's the guy, you know, Andrew Luck is looking for more than anything. You can't leave that popular and talented of a wide receiver wide open in the end zone. Don't think the quarterback's going to find him.
Vinatieri making it 34-3. 100 receiving yards today for Reggie Wayne. Someday he should be in Canton. A 2nd touchdown pass for Luck. It's all Indy. Well, it certainly feels like the Colts are on their way to a win here at 34-3 with tongue-in-cheek. And if they do go on to win their 3rd consecutive road win going back to last year. And we began the broadcast today talking about keeping the positive momentum off the win last week in San Francisco.
You need a win, you rely on your big guns. Andrew Luck, Reggie Wayne, they've delivered here in Jacksonville.
Those numbers reflect the score.
Yeah, the inability to generate anything in the passing game. The quarterback has been hit, hurried, and harassed. And even when he's had time to throw, he's perceived pressure and has hurried throws, has vacated the pocket early, and ceased to lend production to the offense.
After the touchdown pass of 5 yards to Wayne, here's a 1st down and 10 for Jacksonville from their 20-yard line. Todman in the backfield. Incomplete, looking for the tight end, Reisner, and nice defensive play there by Connor. Get inside the mind of a quarterback. Join Phil Simms, Rich Gannon, and Steve Burlock on NFL Monday QB. That's tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern on CBS Sports Network. A 24-hour home of CBS Sports. I like to get inside that guy's mind.
It's a beautiful mind.
A lot of moving parts. 2nd and 10. Fake the top, and they go outside. It's grabbed by Shorts, and good read there by Vontae Davis, who has a pick today, a loss of a yard, back to the 19.
Oh, he is an improved ball player. This guy, Vontae Davis, is much better than the Vontae Davis I remember playing in Miami. Remember, He was a guy that they traded for to get him away from Miami, and they've coached him up. He's playing very good football for this football team.
Ryan Grigson and crew have done a great job rebuilding this team. And rebuilding may be the wrong word to use.
That's right. They just replenished more or less.
It's 3rd down and 11. And that is broken up by Davis, intended for shorts. And here comes now the 6th. There was a shove on the play. Was there a late flag thrown? If there was, it is hidden to us on the near side. Yep, it's down, but right on the sideline.
Prior to the pass being thrown, illegal contact. 5-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
Their last 2 first downs have now come by penalty.
Okay, there's Davis. He's on top. You know, that's just a hand fight. I'm not so sure that I'm in agreement with that penalty because Cecil Shorts had his hands on Vontae Davis. Vontae Davis had his hands on the receiver. Just because you have your hands on the receiver doesn't mean it's an infraction. Interference means interfering with their ability to catch it. Touching them does not constitute interference.
Well, this is Jacksonville's first down since 13-12 left in the 2nd quarter. Here they line up now from the 25 with Maurice Jones-Drew. Bouncing, held by Walden. No gain on the play. Here, Anger is there, and there's another flag, too, thrown on the play. Anger was there. And
Personal foul, face mask, number 93, 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
That's Eric Walden. We mentioned before that he came from the 34 defense in Green Bay, and so very neatly fits into this defense with the Indianapolis Colts.
And that's what they wanted to do as they were adding players. And take a look. And you see right there, it looked like he just grabbed the top of the helmet, not the face mask, Kevin. You know, upon second look.
He was thrown off by that two-tone color on the helmet.
Well, you know, it happens very quickly sometimes for those officials, but that clearly was not a face mask.
It is a 1st down. Gabbert, he's got time, but then he moves up again, and the quarterback is brought down, this time by Corey Redding, who had a half sack last week. 2nd season with the Colts, a sack right there, the 4th of the day by the defense, and a loss of 3. This is the final play of the 3rd quarter, which has typified the day for the defense of the Colts and the offense of Jacksonville. Well, it was 3-0 Jacksonville, and then 34 unanswered by the Colts as we start the 4th, and here comes Jacksonville quarterback Blaine Gabbert with a 2nd down and 13 to start the 4th from his own 37-yard line. He gets away from Redding, and he throws downfield. That's Clay Harbor, the former Eagle. Did he step out of bounds? Yes, he did. It will not count. It looks better than it is. Out of bounds at the 32. It is a 30-yard catch and subsequent run by Clay Harbor.
You know, he's getting protection, Kevin, and, you know, he's just got to really keep his head up. Find receivers. See, you're buying time and then throw the ball down the field. Did a great job on that play, but if you go back to the last play of the 3rd quarter, he had a chance for a bigger play even than this one as he completes the pass to Harbor.
He's missed a lot of time as Gabbert. He's missed 10 of the last 13 games because of injury last year, and Chad Henne's been taking his place the last 2 games. It is 1st down and 10. Nice catch right there. Look at this move. This is the wide receiver, Ace Sanders, stiff-arming his way into the defensive back, Antoine Bethea, a catch and run of 27 yards for the rookie out of South Carolina and a 4th-round pick. It's 1st and goal, Jacksonville.
See, if Blaine Gabbert just keeps his head up and just keep vision on his receiver, he's got the talent to make the throws. That's what's got to be so frustrating for the coaching staff here in Jacksonville, because he's got the talent, and now he just really needs to rein himself in, play with greater control, greater confidence, and start to make plays. Make the kind of plays early in the ball game that you're seeing on this drive.
It's 1st and goal from the 5, and that was dropped by Shorts with the coverage on the play by Greg Toller. It's 2nd down and goal.
Blaine Gabbert, you know, we talk about him having abilities. It is a flag down, but he's just got to play with greater consistency to give his team a shot.
After the play, taunting, Defense, number 20, half the distance, automatic, first down.
Well, 20 is Butler, but 28 was covering.
Greg Toller. And you can see there's Toller diving in front of that one, getting it out. Now he's going to make some actions in the face of Cecil Shorts.
Little animated, and they call him for it. So he was guilty of the infraction. So it is first and goal with the ball at the Colt 2. We got a couple tight ends in there. Good block by Jones. Drew deflected and incomplete. Second and goal at the 2.
You know, Jaguars moved the ball late after the score was well out of hand. They was able to manufacture some yards against that Seattle team on the road out on the West Coast. Now doing it here today. I'm sure Gus Bradley said, now why can't we just do this in the early portions of the ball game? And I think it does start with the confidence and the understanding that the quarterback has for this football team. They need leadership at that position, Kevin.
Jones drew on second and goal at the 2. Now the momentum building for the defense. As they go in there, that's a loss of a yard on the play. A lot of guys had their hand on it, including that guy, Corey Redding.
Oh, there was nothing there. Look at the push by the blue jerseys up front on that defensive line. Watch them create a new line of scrimmage. Just jacking everyone back.
Mathis
is there.
Moala.
Franklin is there. Created a new line of scrimmage.
Third and goal at the 4. They've missed their last 8 consecutive third down plays. Gabbert. Shorts can't get it. Coverage by Toller for a second time.
This is what we would call just a drop. I think Cecil Short should have caught this one. Watch. It's a back shoulder throw. It's high. Cecil Short has vision on the ball. Watch him high point it. Hit him right in the hands. Did it not? And we've seen the good receivers in the NFL make those kind of catches. I think Cecil Short is an emerging player for Gus Bradley's team, but they need him to make those kind of catches.
No surprise here, going for it on fourth and goal at the 4. Gabbert through the hands and incomplete of the intended receiver, Ace Sanders. On downs. Nice goal line stand there by the Colt defense. It goes to Indy leading 34-3. Divisional opponents, Jacksonville and the Indianapolis Colts. That defense taking a lot of pride in what they just did, stopping a first and goal at the 2, holding them out, and on downs the offense gets it back.
Did a really good job of getting the stop there. Playing well.
51. 51. Yeah, 51. Ho, ho, ho. 51. New 80.
First down and 10, Trent Richardson. Hit by Dederick, the former New England Patriot. He's out to about the 7-yard line. And a flag thrown across the way on a gain of 3.
Offside, defense, number 94, 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Jeremy Minson. After a while, you can have all the emotional talks you can have, but it gets to be a little difficult when you're 0-4 and getting beat soundly every week.
And that's why Gus Bradley talks about we hold them accountable for the things they can control. And
Exactly.
the two things are effort and execution. And they have not delivered. His players have not delivered in those areas. Performed poorly, at least in the area of execution.
190.
After the penalty, first down and 5, Richardson. Hustled down by Alan Ball after a gain of 4. He'll be out to about the 20, make it the 13-yard line. Coming up on the Subway postgame show, join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up next from our CBS studios in New York on the Subway postgame show. Second down and 1. How long do you leave in your starters with this kind of lead? And I guess you even look at the quarterback, Luck.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I will talk about that after this play.
Second down and 1.
60. Push it.
It's Richardson, the tight end. Jones with the block. The tackle there by Buzz Lesney. Looks like he's squirmed his way for a first down and a gain of 3.
You know, a lot of people ask those questions, and they apply some of that thought process that they have with college football to the National Football League. Remember, in college football, you have 90 players. You can do a shift change. You can take players out and still play at a high level, get other people work. With 53 men on your roster, say for Chuck Pagano, 8 you don't even dress out, so you have a 45-man active roster. 2 of those guys are punters and kickers, so now you're down to 43. Who do you begin to take out? You take out your whole offensive line, you take out Andrew Luck, and maybe at some point you get the second string guys some snaps, but it's very difficult in the NFL because it's a numbers challenge to get guys rest.
First and 10, Richardson. He's going to see every running play in this playbook, isn't he? Cyprian makes the stop. The gain to the 16. He picks up 2 running the other way, and again, the yards per carry for Richardson very low. 2 touchdown passes for Luck today.
Yeah, Andrew Luck has done a good job, not only just throwing, but making good decisions. When to tuck it and run it against man coverage and throwing the ball on the money, wide open guys, that's very easy. 22 of 35 on the day and perform down inside the red zone. Not to forget about Reggie Wayne, but you know, a guy like Andrew Luck doesn't want to come out of the game, Kevin. You're putting up numbers like this in the NFL. There are a lot of proud players that when coaches say, hey, let's take you out, they say, no way. If those guys are staying in, then so am I.
Peyton Manning never wanted to come out of the game.
Never wanted to come out. His offensive lineman have to finish the game. He wanted to finish the game with them.
Again, second down and 8. Knocked away nicely by Buzz Lesney. He continues to perform at a high level. Came here as a free agent a couple years ago from Buffalo. Luck had hit his last 8 passes until that miss right there.
Yeah, he's on fire. And there you can see, take a look at his backup, Matt Hasselbeck, the veteran. You know, Matt's had a wonderful career, completing 60% of his career passes in 15 seasons. He even took a Seattle Seahawks team to a Super Bowl. They were within a breath away from winning that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's been a fine quarterback, a good representative in our league.
I think he might be getting ready to come in. Here's a 3rd and 8. Donald Brown, boy, he has run well this season. Last 2 games, terrific. 3 and 25 last week. He picks up 9 right there. Had a 52-yard gallop that set up a touchdown earlier in the game. And kind of the forgotten guy, a former #1 pick, as we had mentioned before, with Bradshaw taking headlines and Richardson acquired in the trade with Cleveland. Donald Brown has really stepped it up.
Yeah, and this team has waited for him to come around. And look, he's been the most productive back. We said coming in at the top of the game that both guys would split some carries. He hadn't had many opportunities, but with the few he's had, 2 carries in this game, boy, has he paid off huge with 59 yards rushing in the game.
Proud kid. First and 10 from the 25. Richardson then slowed up on the play. Babin is the one to kind of trip him and then taken down by Geno Hayes with no gain on the play.
You know, Donald Brown, a former first-round pick, and this team had waited on him, Kevin. You know, you have to go all the way back to 2007, 6 years ago, since the Colts have had a 1,000-yard rusher, and that was Joseph Adai. And they draft Donald Brown to someday be his replacement. He had been given the opportunities, never really produced at the high level in terms of the expectation of becoming that perennial 1,000-yard back. They've had some good ones with Marshall Faulk, Edgerrin James, Joseph Adai. He was supposed to be the next guy in that lineage.
See the time of possession on top there. With the second down and 10. Richardson again. There he busts free and gets into the second level and finally tracked down by Evans. That's a good burst of 12 yards right there by Trent Richardson from Pensacola, Florida, about 5 hours from here. Same high school as the great Emmitt Smith.
This is what they've been wanting to see. You know, he's a darter and a cutter. But at some point, you got to be able to break off those long runs. We've already seen a 50-yarder by Donald Brown, and now we get a long of 12 yards by Trent Richardson.
It's nice. They really haven't needed Ahmad Bradshaw today because of the ease with which they have scored. The running performance of others as Trent now takes a breather. 19 carries and 60 yards for Richardson. First and 10. T.Y. Hilton. Not a lot of space out there. Blackman saw to that. Shut the door. Ushers him out of bounds. Near the 41 on a gain of 3.
T.Y. Hilton from Florida International. Last year came in the draft. Did a phenomenal job. Led this team in touchdown receptions. Had been a teammate of the Jaguars' second-round pick, Jonathan Cyprian. And they used to go at it every day in practice. And Cyprian was talking about T.Y. Hilton. Said, we knew Just by the things he did every day in practice, we knew he was special.
Hilton was in a protective boot on Thursday and Friday of this week. He has a toe issue.
Oh, he shook that off, hasn't he? And there's Cyprian there. Talented player out of FIU.
Easy kill, kill, kill.
Brown is in, second down and 7. Donald Brown picking and poking his way. The burst and a gain very close to a first down. Hayes makes the stop up near the 47-yard line. Gain of 6. Saturday, the Home Depot College football on CBS kicks off with Air Force battling Navy. Then, after college football today, Aaron Murray and the Georgia Bulldogs will tangle with Justin Worley and the Tennessee Volunteers on the Home Depot SEC on CBS. And what a terrific game yesterday between the Hedges and Athens.
A couple of quarterbacks in that game who could play in our league, right?
Who were both on the same team to begin their college careers
Murray
at Georgia.
and Mettenberger, absolutely.
They're down and 1. Richardson back in. Jones, the tight end, will block. And then Puz Lesney grabs him around the shoulder pads and drags him down for no gain on the play at the 46-yard line.
Both running backs so far in the game for Indy, well over 60 yards rushing and yielding 154 yards on the ground, this Indianapolis Colts team. We said coming in they were primarily a run-first kind of team, over 400 yards, just that 400 yards total offense, most of it fueled by the running game. It helps them, I think, to protect their quarterback, Andrew Luck. Remember the owner, Mr. Irsay, had tweeted out early in the year, we got to do a better job of protecting number 12. Well, they've done so over the last couple of ball games.
Well, they got 7 minutes off the fourth quarter clock as it continues to tick, and here will be the punt by Pat McAfee. And Ace Sanders is back inside the 15. He used to return punts for South Carolina, in addition to being a very good receiver. And hasn't been returning punts here because of all the issues with injuries at the wide receiver position. They didn't want to overtax him. So out of bounds it goes, under 6 to play. This baby's in hand. The Colts are going to cruise to their 3rd win of the year.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by 1and1.com. Pre-reserved now from over 700 new domains with 1and1.com. The new LG G2, learning from you. With LG, it's all possible. And by the 2013 Ford F-150 with EcoBoost.
Well, as you can see, a lot of the fans here have gone to enjoy the beaches and the nice weather here in Jacksonville. As their team is getting crushed 34-3. Late in the game, Gabbert remains. 1st and 10 after the punt by Indianapolis in a 7-minute run. Todman, 1st down and 10. And caught on the play downfield by Ace Sanders. He makes the grab. That's a 1st down throw, pickup of 16. Well, we want to take a moment and send our thoughts out to our CBS sports director, Bob Fishman, who was injured this past week at his home. We all thinking about Bob and beautiful wife, Margaret. You guys, just speedy recovery. Intercepted. Picked off on the play by Josh Gordy, a former Jaguar player, a former Green Bay Packer. That's the 3rd interception thrown by Gabbert in what has been a tough performance this afternoon. New quarterback is 15-year veteran Matt Hasselbeck, originally a 6th-round pick by Green Bay. Brett Favre's back up there, traded to Seattle, took the team to a Super Bowl, 3-time Pro Bowler, taking the place of Andrew Luck, who finishes 22 of 36 for 260, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. 7 different receivers for Luck. On the way to their 3rd win. 1st and 10. Oh, no, that's Avila, who was wrapped up, hit initially by Derek Marks, who used to be a teammate of Hasselbeck's with Tennessee. That's a loss of 3, back to the 49.
Yeah, and if you want a guy to come out and close out the game, not turn it over, you know you can trust the game in the hands of Matt Hasselbeck. A 15-year veteran. His dad, Don Hasselbeck, played in the National Football League, played with the Patriots, won a championship with the Oakland Raiders. Always nice visiting with Matt.
And what a nice luxury for Andrew Luck in his second year in the NFL to pick the brain and have this guy as a tutor.
I don't think you can ask for a better tutor and a guy you can trust with all the information. Yeah, that quarterback room is a very sacred one.
Second down, 13, Hasselbeck. With his progression, and he finds his receiver on a slant down to the 35. Hayward Bay, the ex-Oakland Raider, a 16-yard pickup and a first down to the 35 of Jacksonville.
And Kevin, once again, the defense turns in a stellar performance, coming up with the ball early in the ball game, making tough plays in coverage by Vontae Davis, interception, and then Darius Butler gets the pick, sets out 41 yards, return it for a touchdown. So they get 3 interceptions in this game today. They keep, of course, this Jacksonville football team out of the end zone all day long. They made all the plays you can ask a defense to make.
Dominique Jones, the tight end, rumbling down the sideline on a nice throw by Hasselbeck, who watches his tight end take it to the 14-yard line of the Jaguars. So pickup of 21.
Talking about trusting the game in the hands of Matt Hasselbeck. He's looking for more points. if I'm going to play, might as well move the chains and put some points on the board for this offense. And, you know, this is where a veteran quarterback like Hasselbeck can help the young guys, help them understand the tempo of a game, regardless of the score, that you continue to put the pedal to the metal, and it's about execution and effort.
Terrific out. First down and 10. Havili finds his way down to about the 11-yard line. He picks up 3 on the play. This was the guy that was the lead blocker for LaShawn McCoy and Bryce Brown last year in Philadelphia. He's only in his second year out of USC.
I remember him at SC. He was a fine player. You know, Chuck Pagano talked about him being a rare breed. He said, but those fullbacks, every now you gotta give them a bone. This is what he means. You want to close out the game, running the football, protect your assets, and Trent Richardson and Donald Brown. Let the fullback play tailback. We talked about his versatility, and now he's showing you. Look, he's dotting the I formation right now.
With a second down and 7, Havili. Oh, Jones with a nice block. Turned his guy out. Gain of 2. Got clogged up there, and he's just inside the 10-yard line. Here's Paul Postlesny again, getting off the bottom of that pile. And Havili. Like we talked about before, the role of fullback in the NFL has become a diminishing one because you're finding that tight ends can play fullback.
Yeah, and they would love to have a tight end, as you see Havili limp off the field. Usually they will move that tight end to fullback because you've got to be able to play a number of different positions.
Colts are going to 3-1. The Jaguars are going to remain winless. 2-minute warning. Oh yes, Colts travel well, and a very good contingent of Indianapolis Colts fans on hand.
Not going to give up that trip to Amelia Island to play some golf and sun in the beach.
Hasselbeck is in there. We're at the 2-minute warning. 3rd down and 6. This took the place of Luck, who finishes with 2 touchdowns and a pick. Richardson is in. Havili limped off the field to the end zone. Ooh, almost caught by Hayward Bay with the defense there by Will Blackman, and they're going to try for 3 on 4th down.
All right, what a good throw. This is just called giving your wide receiver an opportunity to make a play. Hayward Bay contests and fight for it. One hand. Blackman's there to contend for it. The ball came into the shoulder of Hayward Bay and came out.
So here is Adam Vinatieri, who already today has kicked field goals of 22 and 46. He'll be trying to tack on one more here to his total of 2. Make it 3. And that pushes the lead to 37-3. The Jaguars have given up 82 points in 2 games. Well, we just saw a field goal by Adam Vinatieri of 28 yards. It makes it 37-3. The interception by Josh Gordy of the Colts, cashed in on by Indianapolis in the subsequent kickoff. Denard Robinson. And hit on the play with a nice tackle made by David Reed, inactive all season, as we mentioned earlier, until today. 11-yard return by Robinson. Coming up, the Subway postgame show from New York. JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for all the latest NFL scores, the news, and highlights of the day. All coming up on the Subway post-game show. Pittsburgh is winless. The Giants are going to lose in Kansas City. Jacksonville will lose. All 0-4. Kansas City goes to 4-0, and you and I are going to see them next week against the Tennessee Titans in Nashville.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
On the 11, Gabbert. He's thrown 3 picks. First and 10, Ace Sanders. Quickly on the hit, Gordy. It's a gain of 6 on first down.
Gabbert remains in the ball game.
Where is he now? Is he at a crossroads? Is this... where is he?
He's thrown 5 interceptions, and he only played in week 1, and you see him in today's contest with 3 interceptions, and he fails to complete a high percentage of his passes. Really struggling, but I think part of it is the organization. 3 different offensive systems in 3 years since he's been here. So, you know, just don't have a large enough sample size to, I think, give up on it. But by the end of the year, you will. So far, it doesn't look good.
Shorts just caught that for 12 and a first down. So Shorts catches another to the 42, and he's brought down on the play by Darius Butler, who had a pick 6 earlier in the game off of Gabbert. It is a 13-yard pickup, and he's up to the 42-yard line, and now he is 14 of 27 throwing the ball this afternoon with the 3 interceptions, and 2 of them were thrown in the first 4 possessions today.
Gabbert came into today's game completing 45% of his passes.
Moves up. Looked like Walden got more face mask on that reach, although there's no yellow on the field, and the pass is incomplete. So they lose last week, 45-17. They lost to currently unbeaten Kansas City week 1 here, 28-2. They lost in Oakland by 10. So they've played 2 unbeaten teams, Seattle and the Chiefs, and they lose to 3-1, now 3-1 Indianapolis today.
We mentioned Gabbert was injured, had a lacerated right hand, 15 stitches required on that right hand. That was in the opening day game against Kansas City. He hadn't played since until now. He said he had only 6 practices over the last 6 weeks.
But down from behind, there was a second down and 10 throw, and it's incomplete. Lawrence Guy was working his way toward the quarterback. He was signed Tuesday. He's been cut a couple times by the Colts. Waived after the final preseason game, brought up again. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
You know, Gabbert, as we continue to talk about him, he went through training camp with an injured sprained right thumb. Missed a lot of work, and you can see the fewest passing yards by a starting quarterback, the minimum 25 starts. And look at that, Jamarcus Russell's the only worst average in terms of yards per game.
He's got 148 before that pass right there to Ace Sanders. He's going to run out of bounds and chased on the play by Brown. Pickup of 10. They do welcome back their wide receiver Justin Blackmon, the number 5 pick last year, who has been suspended for the first 4 games of the season by the NFL.
And clearly that hurt him. I mean, they need his presence. He's a former first-round pick. And when you're drafted in the first round, as he was last year, expected to sort of jump off the charts. We always talk about the biggest year of improvement is from that first to second year, and he was expected to do that in his second season at the beginning of the year.
First down and 10. Gabbert up the middle he goes with room to roam and slides into the 41. With this loss today, Jacksonville, and this is a pretty startling number, Jacksonville will have lost 11 of their last 19 games, losing 11 of their last 19 games by at least 16 points.
Yeah, that's saying that not really competitive during that stretch. And obviously that's why Gus Bradley was hired, replacing the previous coach, Mike Mularkey. You can see the upcoming schedule for them against the Rams, of course, in St. Louis, then at Denver. You know, Peyton Manning won't show this team any mercy.
Well, that's the upcoming schedule. And that game is in London against San Francisco. There has been some talk, and we have avoided this the entire broadcast, but there was a plane supposedly going to fly over the stadium today with the thing hanging out the back there, urging them to sign Tim Tebow. 2nd down and 5 for Gabbert. And outside they go. Harbor makes the grab. Tebow, of course, was let go by the Patriots. He's from Jacksonville, and there's a billboard here today just not far from the stadium, and you can see what it says. And the plane, I'm not sure if it was actually going to fly today or not, but the plans were that it was going to fly overhead.
If you sign them, we will come. But for how long? That's what you don't hear there. And because no matter who you sign or draft, eventually you have to win ball games.
First down and 10. Gabbert. He's got 4 sets. Makes a move on Connor. Grabbed by Butler and brought down, and that is all she wrote from Jacksonville today, and a gain of 12 right there. Chuck Pagano and his Colts have gone to 3-1. They have kept their momentum alive. A 2-touchdown day by Luck. 3 interceptions by Gabbert. Coming up next, the Subway postgame show from New York. For Solomon Wilcox, Kevin Harlan, so long from Jacksonville, Florida. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.